definitely going to that fall festival. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the invitation. What are the dates? What are the dates? The dates? They're in the letter. Thank you so much.
This is great.
Um, so moving on to 3.1, report from Mr. Duro.
Hello, everyone, Mr. President, board members, and audience. It's a pleasure to be here. Great things happening in our district. I want to start by saying thank you to everyone who showed up to our school safety community forum last weekend. Not last weekend, last week. It feels like it was last weekend. I think it was a great opportunity for us to share our goals in regards to our safety protocols within our district. Also, the opportunity was given to share how we are working together with the police department to ensure that these protocols are not only district-based but also based community, right? So we're involving the Somerton police as well as all of our partners. So this was a good opportunity to share that. I know there was about 60 individuals present in person. Half of them were part of our district, which is great. Great support. But we also had about 90 individuals online viewing the forum for as it was being live streamed. And also, Winnie Ortega, councilwoman for the Cocopa tribe, shared with us that there was about 100 individuals at their community center also watching the forum as they were live streaming it. So that was really neat to see that. I do want to, give a special thanks to everyone who was part of the panel. As you saw, if you were there, and if you were able to see it through our social medias and YouTube, you were able to see how they all responded in ways to support what we're doing as a community, and also to ensure that we're working together. So I hope that we were able to convey that information and that message, right? A special thanks to our principals. Principals, thank you so much. You guys are the pillar and strength of your campuses. And so I really appreciate you for everything that you do and the support that you bring to our schools. And also just to acknowledge that it's National Principal Appreciation Month. So thank you for everything that you do. On another note, as an action item, you will be seeing a recommendation for a grant writer position. I think it's really important to acknowledge that our district would greatly benefit from having a grant writer, as we need those funds to support our goals, right? Not only the goals that revolve around safety, but also there's a lot of grant opportunities that would support the extension of transportation, academic enrichment, and also just technology in itself is evolving, and we do need the funding to make sure that we are able to get those technological advancements, right? So this position, up to this point, our district has been doing an amazing job in submitting for some of the grants that have come our way. But in reality, this position is pretty heavy in the amount of duties that they have, right? So if we look at the grant writer position, it has three major components. So actively searching and researching grants to ensure that we pull those funds to our district. Once we find these grants, it's important to solidly apply for them, and that is an extensive process. And then once the funds, when we get them, because we're confident that we're going to get them, just the monitoring of the accountability and making sure that everything is in place would also be under this particular position. Initially, the position will be funded by indirect cost, but as we see the funds coming through those grants, this position hopefully will be paying itself, right? So this would be a recommendation that we would be making, and obviously this person would work under the direction of myself and Ms. Say as well. And one last thing from my side, I gave you guys an invitation, just a friendly reminder that we have our first Somerton Thriving Achievers student recognition on Thursday. This is a beautiful event that we're excited to host. This is a great opportunity to celebrate one student per school on a monthly basis. And TDS is going to be hosting our very first one, so thank you, Gemma, and your team for putting it together. It is at 9 a.m. It's going to be a breakfast, but I hope that if it's not this one, I hope that you try to make it to one of them. I think you're going to see great things and just feel happy for everyone who's being recognized. Something else that we did with this particular recognition program is we extended it to other schools. We have AWC representation, we have Pep Tech, and also WACOG will be participating in the recognition. So we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Moving on to 3.2, Ms. Singh.
All right, good evening, everyone. Just a few things, more good things. We're excited because we're additionally seeking more funds for another SRO in order to serve our safety needs in our district and also counselor positions. So we
know, I see it, and now I can say that I feel it. Next Thursday, we will have a pre-construction kickoff meeting where we all come together, the architects, the designers, the actual contractor that is going to be taking care of that project. And it's a huge undertaking. So it's something the middle school from one end to the other. Basically the whole campus.
Structure.
And we'll be set for, you know, it's gonna, you know, we're gonna be in a good position. And this is only gonna carry us to other projects throughout the district. And if you think, you know, I'm super excited. I'm very happy because again, it's a combination of a lot of hard work, a lot of documentation, and a lot of advocating from our district to the state. Hey, we need this. We've got to get it done. What is it that you need? Any action items on my end? What is it that you need? What other documentation can I provide? Just to push for this. Last year we were, if you guys recall, it's been close to a year. I stood here in front of you guys and we talked about you know, this particular project being funded until the next round of funding, which was this year. We got it, and super excited. And this is only, you know, one of the many things that we are working on, the many projects that we are working on, and we're bringing in a lot of funding dollars that in the end is going to, you know, benefit the district, staff, students for many years to come. And we're identifying what those projects are. We've got a pretty good handle. I've been working with Mr. Devon on this. He's been asking me to provide a
List.
detailed breakdown of those.
We want to know.
Yeah, funding dollars, but you know, some of these have been committed. Some of these
Not yet.
we're close to committed. So you know, so it's been kind of tricky putting that.
You still don't want to.
Compile
Yeah.
that list together, but I will get that to you. But again, I'm super excited, very happy. Again, all this hard work has paid off.
Of course.
So again, next week we'll have our pre-construction kickoff meeting.
That's great.
And we'll make sure to accommodate and think of everything. I know the activities that take place at the middle school to minimize any disruption or disruption. Any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Ms.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
Very well deserved, and it is so much needed. And I just have that one question. Do we have to go out for bids for that or no?
The way that we have handled this is to utilize an active cooperative contract. It's under one GPA.
The state.
And that's, even prior to that, I worked with finance department, I worked with the state facilities board, liaison, to assure that those pieces were going to be, covered. And, again, we're utilizing our JOC. It's an active cooperative contract.
So if you have a cooperative, you don't have to go for bidding because it's already kind of vetted by the state.
Yes.
So that'll avoid you the steps of going through the, you know, requesting 3 quotes and whatnot, or the bidding process. If you're part of a cooperative, the state is already vetting that we should use that company.
So the state kind of tells you what company to use, or?
No, that was done on my own research and just networking with other districts and how they do this type of projects, and just to assure that we're going to satisfy procurement, you know, guidelines. I did check with the state though, just to assure they don't provide any guidance or anything like that, but basically it's something that we can utilize, you know, the job program, and you know, taking full advantage of that. A lot of times when you go out to bid, it's you know, you're looking for that lowest bidder, the lowest number. Sometimes it doesn't work out. I see the reason we purpose for that, but sometimes, you know, we just want to make sure I'm working with the architects, the contractor, roofing contractor from day one, They've been out here, they have looked at the site, they have identified, by design, what is needed. We're not only addressing the roof, but many other pieces that go hand in hand with the roof. But back to your question, we have assured that we were okay to utilize the JAC program.
Is it a local contractor or from?
No. I don't think it is a huge project. I don't think any of the local contractors have the capacity or manpower to take on a job with the complexities and everything that the site brings in the existing conditions.
Okay, thank you.
So you know what, I have a question. So that means any, let's say, future jobs that we have, they don't all go to procurement if they're vetted under that agreement that you mentioned?
Right.
So does it matter the amount of the project?
There are limitations depending on what the project is. There's many active contracts out there. We have Mojave, we have One GPA, we have Omnia. There's just many in these. To Mr. Jerome's point, all these individuals are vetted and they have gone through a process in the system to make sure that all those that they cover all the requirements that are needed.
So there's a dollar amount. It doesn't matter the dollar amount of the project, as long as they're vetted, we can move forward with it.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Because I do understand that even if we go to bid, just because we get the lowest one doesn't mean we have to go with the lowest
That's
one.
correct.
Because it's sometimes the cheapest is not the best in that case, right?
Right.
So, okay, I just wanted clarification on that question, so.
And also, if we want to talk about the timelines, if we go through a company that has been already vetted through a cooperative, you avoid some of the steps, a lot of the steps to going into bidding, and, you're just extending that project even more. And so, so these companies that are part of this cooperative, the state really vets for them to be the best quality.
Sounds good. Any other questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Velasco,
Thank you.
for
Thank you.
spearheading this project. Thank you.
Yeah. And I do get the emails every time we get awarded, because I'm like, hey,
Okay.
at first I was like, do I need to sign it?
There's actually another terms and conditions document presented to you.
Awesome.
And this is for the Orange Grove cleaning and deep cleaning and relining of the water, 20,000 gallon holding tank. And that's our potable water and fire protection as well.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Velasco.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to 5.2, Ms. Elizabeth Garza, Director of Exceptional Student Service.
Say I'm short. Good evening, Board President, members of the board, Mr. Veron, Essay, and audience. I have presented the board report to you, board members. It has all the staffing information, demographical information, PD that we have done, and any other information that I thought you would be asking me in advance. But I'm here to answer any questions additionally to what I have already reported to you.
Go ahead, Ms. Evalia.
I have a question. So the evaluations of students here in our district, I know that basically what's the weight on evaluation from a psychologist to determine a diagnosis?
The state allows us to go 60 days, that is the time, but we try to go as fast as we can. We have had multiple requests for evaluations. As you can see, we started like even just in preschool with 90 students on that list. And our psychologist tested 30 within 2 weeks, which is quite a significant amount because she's testing every other day, which requires then completing the whole evaluation, conducting Med 1, Med 2, which is the eligibility placement. So that's why they allow us to have that time, but we're trying to turn it around as, if it's 5-6 weeks, if we can.
And that's a full evaluation with a diagnosis of whatever the
That is complete, and you have to remember that most evaluations are not only just a psychologist, but they require like a speech evaluation, OT evaluation. So it's everybody having to complete that evaluation in that time. And so, yes, it's a complete evaluation, including when we hold the meeting for eligibility.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Any other questions or comments?
Just a comment, thank you for what you do and for being an advocate for exceptional students, and, you know, all that goes into, serving the students' needs, so thank you.
I appreciate that. I do want to acknowledge my team. My team is, they're the ones that do all the work, especially my instructional specialist. I do want to publicly acknowledge her since it's going to be tomorrow, right? Instructional Specialist Day. I couldn't do it without Ms. Calvin.
That's great.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Moving on to 5.3, Maria Villarreal, Director of Transportation.
Good evening, President, government members, and all of the staff, Mr. Laura, and Antonio. So my report it is that how many students do we transport right now? We're transporting 1,338 students right now, and 5 homeless. Actually, homeless students, they're not from our district. We combine the, transportation services from the other schools. We combine it, we help in training with 3 students and Gaston district with 2 students homeless. So we just combine, the to and from. Okay. And you can see that we have 58 bus routes, and we driven 1,020 miles a day. And so today we have driven 51,000 miles, including extracurricular miles. I just want to present a brief PowerPoint that I did create so you can know what the bus driver training they have every year. Because I know that you see the bus drivers, okay, they just drive, but they have, and they go to a lot of trainings. Well, I just put right here that, yes, to you guys today, that I'm being an Arizona Department Public Safety instructor for 26 years.
That's awesome.
And I've been training our drivers since I'm I've been assistant Gaston at one point, Harvest at one point, and actually Academy,
Desert View.
Desert View Tech, correct. Okay, and I'm being instructor for the classroom. I'm an instructor behind the wheel. That's being behind the wheel. That's mean that how to maneuver, how to do some driving skills, and actually physical performance test. The physical performance test is they implemented in 2003 because there were a lot of bus drivers that were not able to move quickly to assist bus driver. So they implemented in 2003, and every bus driver had to go and be qualified and pass the physical performance test. So they have to drag 125 pounds. They have to move 50, 55 pounds, back from the bus to the floor. And actually, they also can be tested and how their reaction are. Okay, anybody else? Okay, the training there. I can see it is defensive driving. They do defensive driving test, student management, loading and unloading students, field trips, and railroad crossing, bus evacuation, emergency situation, and accidents.
Mm-hmm.
They also, every morning, they do the pre-trip. Drivers inspect the buses every morning before they're going out to route to make sure buses are in good performance. Even if it is dark, they have to check buses, all the fuel levels, tires, everything.
That's awesome.
This is the physical performance test. There's the one, they're begun, they were trying to do one. So this is one. They've been tested inside the bus and outside.
That's awesome.
They have a CPR training,
That's great.
first aid, and we have some kind of education meeting with Chef Juarez. It was last week. She came and gave us some information about road safety and also student safety.
That's awesome.
Thank you to federal programs, migrant. They give a recognition to the bus drivers, to all transportation staff last week. Thank you,
That's
we
really
appreciate that.
nice. That's awesome.
And all the bus drivers. I just also want to recognize the hard work from this bus driver that they've been here for a long time, for years. They're gonna be familiar to you, and I have some recognition certificate. I don't know if they want me to.
Yes,
give it,
yes,
or you
of
guys
course.
Give it to them?
We can help you, yes.
Okay. The first one is Manuela Villar. She's been here 30 years. in transportation.
Congratulations.
This is for Martina Castilla. She's been here for 29 years. We have Mr. Castilla. He's not here today, but he has been with us for 24 years. Really, she's not here, but she's been here for the next 31 years. I have Berta Reynoso. She's been with us 24 years. And we have that one, Mrs. Cepeda, Alba Cepeda. She's been with us for 26 years. I just want to let you guys know that they're not bus drivers. They're actually, they help us, the team, we're like a transportation team. We help us whenever there's a bus driver broke down. We help us each other. Even we assist the mechanic. We learn with the ladies. And thank you. Thank you.
I can make it para que pasa. Thank you, Ms. Villarreal, and thank you, bus drivers and everything. I also had one of my aunts was a bus driver for Somerton. She retired, I think, not that long, a while back. Abigail Hernandez. So, yeah, so she's my aunt. So I know she worked. God, I don't know how long. But,
She's now as bus assistant.
yeah. Oh, she's still? Really?
See?
Oh, wow.
Your aunt is still working, Mr. Castillo.
Wow. I thought she was retired, like she's off to the sunset. Wow. Wow. Well, thank you, Ms. Villarreal, and everyone. So, moving on to consent agenda. Does anyone want to have a question or want to pull something from agenda?
I do.
I know I got, go ahead.
Correct.
At 6.5, we can pull, I have a question on that. You can go
Okay,
ahead.
so there's a question on 6.5. I also have on 6.7, I have this note here
Correction.
that please request board to approve on number 2 on Mr. Chaz Dillard.
It's a correction.
It's a correction,
Yeah.
to be on range 5, not 3. Just want to make sure that we have it on the record. So, does anyone besides Ms. Delgadillo have a question or anything that needs to be pulled from the agenda? With the exception of, I know it's 6.5, right, Ms. Delgadillo?
Yes.
So I'm going to go ahead and make the motion right now, and then we can discuss it. Right?
If you want, or you want to discuss it?
Or you want to discuss it first?
Yeah, and then we
Okay,
just give it
go
to
ahead,
them.
ask your question.
So my question is, first I want to thank those teachers that take on the extra responsibility for the extracurricular activity. I know that, with the heat and the hot weather, and they go out there and even in the cold, participate and help our students be active within our community, and that only expands their knowledge, but also their social interaction. However, and I know that, they don't do it for free. We pay them. It's not much, but they do get a little something. But my question is, I see that we issue a lot of stipends for extracurricular. Is there a description of their responsibility for each? Like, do they have a measurement where, okay, well, if you're going to be the band coach or the yearbook or softball or wrestling, that's on here as well. Is there like a requirement, or do they have to meet as an expectation? Or is it, okay, well, as long as you're there, you're a body, we'll give you the $800 or the $2,000 stipend?
So that's a good question. We do have job descriptions for all our primary roles, and so for the supplemental roles, we don't have defined job descriptions. We are working on that project to make sure that the understanding of what the responsibilities are, and if you're this additional assignment, you can't necessarily do this too because you're overseeing the whole program. And so we are defining those roles, and we are trying to work on that. But we also are working on making sure that when we advertise those supplemental roles, that anybody within the district might have that opportunity, because sometimes, like last year, we had the admin who just couldn't fill those roles, and so we were hiring external coaches to meet those roles. So it's not necessarily just a body. We do always make sure we hire the most qualified individual for that. And so sometimes the interest is within the same school because it's easier for them. They work at that school to do that supplemental role. Other times we do open it up for others, especially when they're district projects like we do the folkloric. We try to do it all as within the schools, but we also have districts. So our band, we're trying to now open it up like we did several years ago, where we have like a district band, not just an individual school. So we're trying to work on all of that process and just make sure that the best individuals always selected.
So all these individuals that are listed here applied to do that? To do what's on here?
For the extracurricular, yes. So every year you approve, we have a set schedule for the extracurricular stipends. And then Mr. Gascon at the middle school, because I believe the ones you're asking about, they normally go through that. They should go through the recruitment process to make sure, and usually the individuals might submit a letter of interest of making sure they let them know they're interested. And then they should be screening those individuals and making their decision based on what the needs are within the district. Several times you'll notice the same individuals might do this, so they kind of coordinate. Okay, you're going to do 8th grade boys basketball, and then you'll do 8th grade girls, because depending on the season.
On the
So,
season.
yes.
Okay. Because I do want to make a comment. Only believe 20% of what you see on social media, but I did read a lot of not so good comments on the tournament that occurred in Yuma through SMS, and like really bad comments. And I got a lot of calls as well from parents. I directed them to SMS principals and also to you, to the district.
What tournament? I'm sorry.
There was a tournament and they forfeited. But obviously, a lot, when I read all the comments on Facebook, I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? But then I got calls as well, and so I'm like, I'm not going to get involved, but I did direct them to the principal at the middle, to go visit the principal at the middle school. So I just want to make sure that all these individuals that put in that extra time is because they really want to, not because they're, not necessarily forced, but they're like, come on, can you do it? Just, and they're like, okay, well, I'll just do it. You know, do you understand?
Yeah,
I just want,
exactly. And I know this year with Mr. Vestlund's new leadership, there was a couple of times, and if in fact, you know, now with 21st century, we have just additional
yeah,
programs, and sometimes our own personnel just doesn't meet the
Doesn't
need.
want
So he
to.
was able to hire externally, and we do hire individuals that want to help our
That want to.
students in that capacity, in that role. So we were
Yeah.
able to hire external ones, and we go through a clearance process for that.
okay. I just wanted to know if there was like a job description or a criteria that has to be met in order for that person to follow.
You know, after your question, I got another question now. So then, I mean, I just see on the stipends, there's a set amount. Let's say for hypothetically speaking, someone, let's say, doesn't fulfill it completely, who determines that, you know what, this amount isn't, you
That's
know?
good.
I was going to highlight that. So the schedule is set, and it's an approved 1,500. But the amount is not actually paid. Sometimes it's paid half, you know, when the seasons, if it's a full year season, half in December, the other half in May. So if the season's just, you know, a few months, we don't usually pay the stipend until the work is actually completed. And so normally that's where our principals monitor and make sure, and there's a whole process to make sure the work is getting completed and the need is being met. If at times, you know, we have a situation at TDS where the teacher that was selected now is going on maternity leave, so then they kind of work with HR to say, okay, now this individual earned up to this much, but the additional stipend is now going to go to this new individual who's going
Okay.
to take that on. So we have
It's
a
a
process for
prorated
that
amount
to
or
make
some
sure
sort.
that.
Okay.
If I can add something, some of the stipends that have just like the amount, right? We've been having those conversations with Lydia and the principals because, you know, like someone's going to receive $800 for media club or whatnot, and so Lydia's been working to ensure that we quantify that amount into hours, right? How many hours would really take to accomplish an $800, you know, a stipend? And so those are good conversations because at least we are aware that it would take about 20 hours a year to be able to fulfill that particular stipend. And so principals are going to be working to ensure that they keep track of those hours so that they get half of that stipend, I believe so, in December, and then the other half in May.
So that's how it's determined, like a instructional tech coach mentor earns this amount and the band music coordinator earns this amount. So that's how it's determined, or how do you
So,
determine how much
yeah,
money
last
to?
month we brought the actual schedule to you to get approved on what those amounts are. And then within that schedule, it usually determines you pay half here, half there, because it all depends when those seasons are or how long that item needs, you know, because like the girls softball, right, or girls volleyball, it's only like 3 or 4 months, so then it gets paid at the end of that season. But those individuals, like you mentioned, the tech coach, we have one at each of the sites, and that's throughout the school year. So those are usually paid half in December, then the other half once it's done at the end of May.
And I just had that question. I mean, I think for me, I mean, if we could double or triple these stipends, I think that'd be great. But
Yeah.
I mean, I know we do what we can, but
We did make an interest and change for consistency to one of the stipends that was for whatever reason a little bit lower, so we updated it last year. And since we've increased the stipend amount to $40, I think there is some type of change that might need to be done soon to those amounts.
That's true.
And so normally, like to your point, it's not necessarily for the money, they are usually there to help the kids and to do that.
and I think if we factor in the hourly, I mean, we're getting a big bargain.
They do a lot more than the 20 hours.
So for the student council, it's across the board, all schools earn the same for student council?
I believe the middle school might be a little bit different as far as how many advisors they get. So the bigger schools have one advisor, and then the smaller schools have one advisor, and then the bigger schools get 2 advisors because of their size for student council. And I honestly, next board meeting, I think Mr. Duron and the team are making different clubs, so we have to update that extracurricular stipend, and we can provide more information to you at that time.
Okay, great,
To
thank
make sure
you.
you have that clear understanding.
Thank you.
You good, Ms. Amelia?
Yes, I'm good, so I'm ready to.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Motion was made by Ms. Agadillo,
Second?
second by Ms. Clark. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 7.1, approval of the annual financial report and school level report for FY 23-24.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very excited to present this because it signifies the end of fiscal year '24 for me. We have our orders coming next week, and they'll continue wrapping up FY '24, and we'll get the auditing information in December and January for you to approve. So I wanted to just go through quickly to give you an update. Just a refresher, what is the AFR? It is the annual financial package that's made up of 4 components. Those 4 components are the main AFR that has the M&O capital grants and the special revenue funds, and then there's the school level AFR. The board is approving those 2 AFRs. The food service AFR and the classroom site fund AFR, it's just for informational purposes only, but it is required by statute to be submitted as well. And all of that submission must happen by October 15th. And then just a little quick overview of what our expenditures were for FY '24. For our M&O, we started out with a budget balance of $22,190, and we ended with $1,035,000. On the bottom, we have our ending fund balance. That's a relatively new requirement that they've added to our AFR. And so our ending fund balance is 1.27, which gives us 241 that it exceeds our budget capacity. So we are still moving forward with the $1,035,000 to be used for future sustainability for the budget. Any questions on M&O?
Questions or comments?
So for our DAA, which is our capital budget, we started out with 3.77. Our expenditures were 1.341, and we ended up with a 2.43, which we know we're going to use this for our expansion that's already in the works. I did include prior year expenditures so everybody can see just comparison from previous year to this year. And then again, our ending fund balance needs to be reported now. So that was our ending fund balance. Our budget exceeding budget capacity was 154,000, which left us with, again, our budget limit of 2.4 to spend for this year. I wanted to keep this on the presentation. This is something that's being heavily discussed at the Auditor General's office. We don't have a fund balance policy in place, nor is it required at this time, but it is good to open up the conversation between finance and Mr. Duran and Ms. Say to kind of set something in place to what our goal would be. So we are exploring what best practices are. We're seeing what other districts typically do. We know we have this 4% kind of in our head that we like to use as a baseline, but we will continue to work with administration and just make sure we're kept abreast of if there is going to be any policies being enforced by the Auditor General.
That's great.
Any questions?
Questions or comments? No?
I'm
Thank
done.
you. Need a motion?
Thank you.
So move.
Motion was made by Ms. Card,
Second.
second by Ms. Delgadillo. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 7.2, discussion of ASBA bylaws. So for this item, I was the one that asked Mr. Little to put it on the agenda. And really what this consists of is the ASBA Governance Committee, with unanimous approval from the ASBA Board of Directors, has proposed important changes to our current bylaws right now. These updates are designed to enhance transparency, accountability, and member engagement, kind of like ensuring that ASBA continues to serve its diverse membership effectively. I mean, it's no secret that last year, it was, ASBA was faced with some adversity, some challenges. And this is what prompted these bylaws that were kind of they were looked at again. And they've been modified and changed. We technically don't have to vote on them until December 13, right, Mary? There is gonna be a webinar, scheduled for October 18th, I believe it's at noon. I know as board members, we received information from ASBA, that have explained the changes, the modifications made to the bylaws. My recommendation to our board right now is to really table this item. I mean, we have until the December board meeting to vote on it. But I'm thinking it'll give us a month. If anyone wants to do their own research, if you guys have any questions, register for that webinar and ask them. I think that's the perfect platform. If you have, any concerns or anything that you might have. That's my recommendation. I mean, we're gonna have to, being that we're members of the association, we're gonna have to give a vote by December. But I think if we make a vote next month, it gives us plenty of time to do our research, ask questions, join the webinar, anything like that. So, at least for me, anybody want to make a comment or anything?
When is the webinar?
The what?
The webinar.
The 18th?
Yeah. It's the 18th, and I believe it's at noon, right, Mary?
It's right, it's on the 18th, the webinar.
Yep, it's right there. So, I mean, I don't want to rush you to the decision. I mean, I'm very familiar with it, being that I'm on the board of directors. But I want to give every board member an opportunity to kind of, do their own research and come to their own conclusion. Yeah, good? All right, so moving on to 7.3, and we don't have to make an action or anything because it's just for discussion, right? So moving on to 7.3, discussion and consideration and possible action to approve or deny the release of teacher contract FY 24-25 effective 9/9/24. And there is a letter under executive content. Questions or comments? Need a motion?
Make a motion to approve the release of the teacher from contract FY 24-25.
Motion was made by Ms. Clark,
Second.
second by Ms. Torres. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 7.4, discussion and possible action to waive or fine 1% to the teacher for release of FY 24-25 contract.
The motion from admin is to waive the fee for this individual based on the exhibit presented in front of you.
And typically, under these circumstances and everything, it meets
the
our
criteria.
pattern, right?
Yes.
Okay, questions or comments? Need a motion?
Motion to waive the fee for teacher's release of FY 24-25 contract.
Motion was made by Ms. Clark,
Second.
second by Ms. Torres. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 7.5, discussion and possible action to open a grant writer position for the FY 24-25 school year.
So this is the position that I front-loaded through my report earlier. I don't know if you have any questions.
Mr. Leon, you mentioned that this position was going to be funded through indirect costs, right?
Yes.
So, will this be sustainable in the future, next years and everything like that?
Yes, so we've been working with Ms. Laura about how this would start off, and indirect costs would be the benefit to starting it off, and then as the funds are coming in through the grants, then it would sustain itself.
Okay. Provide you some flexibility too, right?
Yes, of course.
So, any questions or comments? No? Need a motion?
So moved.
Motion was made by Ms. Delgadillo,
Second.
second by Ms. Torres. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 7.6, discussion and possible action to approve the salary schedule FY 24-25.
Yes, this item is just based on the motion that you just approved, so we anticipated you might approve that, and so with that approval, we request for you to please update our salary schedule.
Okay. Any questions or comments? No? Need a motion?
Motion to approve the salary schedule as stated?
Motion was made by Ms. Clark,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Delgadillo. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 7.7, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve or deny the termination of certified employee from contract FY 24-25 effective 9/10/2024, and there is a letter under executive content. Questions or comments?
Well, since it's under executive content, I don't think we can make a
Yeah.
comment.
I was gonna say, but yeah, you're right.
I do have a comment, but I guess I'll email you.
Yeah, thank you, Ms.
I don't know if I,
So, yeah, so need a motion?
Motion to approve the termination of employment of the certified employee from contract 24-25 as recommended by administrator.
Motion was made by Ms. Clark,
Second.
second by Ms. Torres. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 7.8, approval of the first reading for policy advisory number 801-807.
So policy advisories 801 through 807 were reviewed by Ms. Kim and myself. Very minimal changes to it. This is just to approve the first reading.
Questions or comments? No? Need a motion?
so moved.
Motion was made by Ms. Delgadillo,
Second.
second by Ms. Clark. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 7.9, approval of school parent support organization, FY 25.
This is to approve the PTO members for Encanto Learning Center.
Any questions or comments? Need a motion?
So moved.
Motion was made by Ms. Clark,
Second.
second by Ms. Delgadillo. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 7.10, discussion and possible action to approve the survey questions of the board self-evaluation, BAA.
So there's a component of board evaluation to do a self-evaluation, and you would just find the questions of the survey attached.
And this is just standard procedure from last year and everything, right?
Yes.
So I think your self-evaluation that you've had in the past would remain the same unless you otherwise decided to change some of those questions. And then we'll send those out to our community, our staff community, and get that feedback for you to review.
Any questions or comments? Need a motion?
So moved.
Motion was made by Ms. Delgadillo,
Second.
second by Ms. Torres. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 8.1, any recommendation from the board for future agenda items? No? Well, if something comes to mind, let me know. And NSBA conference, April 4th through the 6th, 2025 in Atlanta, Georgia. So those of you whose seats are not up for grabs, if you're planning on attending, let Mary know. I know Ms. Delgadillo, myself, and Ms. Clark are patiently going to be waiting. So, okay. So it is October 8th, 6:33. Need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion was made by Ms. Delgadillo, second by Ms. Clark. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We're adjourned.